Good morning, everyone. This is Dan Sisik with Mindset Mastery Collective and the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm here with my good friends Samantha, Karen, Jason, Angel, and Catherine. And we're in the book Love, Life, God, The Journey of Creation by Jared Hewitt. For what I understand, we're like in the very last chapter in the middle of that. So I'm going to let them all jump out and say their hellos and introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Good morning, Samantha in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hey, good morning. Jason Roberts here from Tampa Bay, Florida.
Good morning here. This is Angel down here in Beaufort, South Carolina. I keep thinking that I log into my own Zoom, but every time I log in here and open up the link, it's mom still, and I don't get it. Like, I literally logged into mine, so. But it's me, it's Angel.
This is Karen Lohoff in Mesa, Arizona.
This is Catherine Clement, and that's called Cookies, my dear.
Okay, and from what I've been told, we're like within the first couple pages of chapter 13 in the book, once again, Love, Life, God by Jared Hewitt. So with that, I will let you guys kind of fill us in on what's going on and kind of bring us up to date so we can continue on, and maybe we can have Catherine pick up the reading once we get a little caught up and refreshed and go from there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Refreshed on where we're at. It's been a week or so. Well, we didn't join last week because of scheduling conflicts and whatnot. And but I think we ended last time on page 184, and then we were just going to start reading at the top of page 185, and just kind of go from there. And we'll just see where the conversation goes, because I honestly don't remember where we left off in our chat the last time. So yeah, go ahead and just read, Catherine, and when somebody feels like a conversation in their mind, then just mute and jump on out, or unmute and jump.
Sounds good. All right, let me get to 185. Self-love. Wait a minute. I got to go back to the bottom of 184. All right, so I'm just going to recap a little bit on 184. Otherwise, we won't know what's going on 185. So Jared says, so could it be all right? Can I be happy in a drama-free life? And Spirit says, these are questions to ask yourself, because if you this is one of those things we were talking before we went recording, whether we would get through the end of the book. And I said, I don't know, because I've read through the end of the book, and there's going to be some things come up that take some conversation. And this very first sentence is one of those. So he says, Spirit says, these are questions to ask yourself, because if you require resistance in order to change, you will experience resistance. If you require suffering to change, change will require suffering. We ask that you look at these pathways and that you decide that you choose to let them go. They are your story only as long as you allow them to be. Let your story of creation go. Let go of that which you think you must do. You must do nothing other than claim self-love, right? In truth, you must do nothing to be God. You are source energy no matter what you do. Self-love will just allow you to let go. It will allow you to let in your creation. Ultimately, you direct. That is all. There have been so many layers of impediments that the vast majority of people have not been able to get clear vibrationally about whom and what they truly are. Don't get us wrong. Emphasis us. Don't get us wrong. Everyone knows this on some level. They remember, but they hide this memory from themselves. They don't allow themselves to know who and what they are, and therefore they devise other identities and form new beliefs which will perpetuate those selves. True divine self-love will allow you to let go of these beliefs and create your own unfolding from a more conscious perspective. Self-love will change your consciousness. It will expand not just your desires, but your entire being. As you expand, so we expand. Your creation will never end, just as your world will never end. Sure, there are books and religious texts that seem to imply a cataclysmic ending, but, and Jared says, it's like the lyrics to Closing Time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, huh? Yes, look at what's going on currently in America. Everyone thinks the sky is falling. Now remember, this book was written a long time ago, so our sky's been falling a long time. And guess what? As you believe, so shall it be. The media mirrors back to you the social consciousness. The social consciousness then acts accordingly. The media then reports on this new downturn, and the cycle continues ever downward. The only question you really have to ask yourself is, what do you want? And I think that's a good place to stop, because I'm going to go back to the very first sentence or second sentence. And because you guys know that I've always had health issues, and I'm just like, I take, 3 steps forward and 6 steps back a lot of times. And having been back in a wheelchair for several weeks now, it's been extremely frustrating. And I have really been seeing how this experience is really forcing me to focus on self-love, because the other half of me is really busy beating myself up and berating myself, and not just about falling down the steps, but like, why would I do that to myself? Like, I was making really good progress with my health. Things were really looking up. And, if it's true that we bring all this stuff onto ourselves, why, and I'm going to curb my words today, I'll do my best, but why in the world, do I have to do something like that? And maybe I wasn't focused enough on self-love. Maybe I wasn't appreciating my mobility as much as I should have been. I don't know, like, but it has really, it has let me see another gift of pain. Pain brings a lot of gifts. And one of the things that a new realization that I made, a gift from pain, is that it helps me to disengage from all the other stuff that I shouldn't be engaged with, if that makes any sense. Because when my pain is up, my brain literally cannot handle, like, it gets overstimulated so fast that I have to shut down thinking about this or thinking about that or listening to this or multitasking 5 things at one time. Like, my body physically can't take it. It gets so overwhelmed. And so it makes me really step back away from those things. I literally can't deal with those things anymore. And so that's actually a huge gift. It's in the moment, it's irritating because I just feel overstimulated and overwhelmed. But in the larger picture, that's a really huge gift to do that, and do that often, because I shouldn't have my mind engaged in all those things at once anyway. But that's kind of the just the way our world works right now. You know, our phones are on 24 hours a day, and there's just always a million things on our minds, and 5 things we are attending at one time. Like I used to be really big about having one earbud hooked into one thing and one earbud hooked into another thing, and be visually looking at another thing, and you know, just totally trying to be a computer, which I'm not. So what do you guys think about, you know, seeing these patterns in your life, and why do you think that they're there?
I'm going to jump out and I'm going to say, in a way, recently, I kind of feel in um essence similar to what you're feeling, but it's not so much a physical pain because of falling downstairs. It's more of a spiritual body pain because of the passing of my mom. And I've realized that I actually have one friend, and he's a good friend, but he just he 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 drains me, and he just totally, when I it seems like he constantly is needing help and stuff, and he does because of a situation that he put himself in because of going driving while under the influence and then causing an accident, and other people got hurt and stuff, and his car got totaled, so he has no car. But also because his mom has dementia, so in that, he's got a partially. So, and then recently his dad was just in the hospital because his dad got pneumonia. Didn't have COVID, but he got pneumonia. So, and he's been like leaning on me a lot, and I'm sitting there going through the pain and process of the stuff of going through my mom, and I'm trying to help and be what I would want my friends to be, for me. But at the same point, after a while, I just get so, yeah, kind of, and I beat myself up because all I want to do is tell them, leave me alone for a while, give me a few days to where I can process and do what I need to do. Then maybe I can focus on helping you a little better as the friend I would want to have people do for me. But it's inanely, and then I get home and I kind of beat myself up because it's like, he's going through his own stuff, and so then I kind of put myself on that hamster wheel of, you know, beating myself up, saying, well, I can do better. I can be this and stuff. But then, when I give myself that moment to kind of process feelings and what I'm going through with my mom and how much I'm missing her and certain aspects of, I would get texts every day from her because that's how we kept in touch, all of us kids. Um, but they were insanely uh, bothersome too at the same point because she would ask, what are you eating? What are you watching TV? Where are you going? What are you going to do next? What it is like, do you need to know all this information? But at the same point, now that she's not here, that's what I'm missing. So I'm in this all up and all over. And yet then I have this one friend who really needs a friend to be helpful because he really doesn't have a lot of friends. And all I want to do is just tell him, get away from me, and just, and I'm just totally at times beating myself up and kind of, in my head. And then I'm not any good for myself. And then at times I've been forgetting to remind myself, practice that self-love because, you know, I'm not feeling a lot of love right now in some sense, and I'm not feeling to be loving either. So it's just, I kind of feel, maybe not on the same exact level, but some sense of what you're going through that, you know, I would really like to be at that place of just self-love and being able to, and it's weird because I know that he put himself in this position, and that technically I feel like he should reap some of those rewards of what he did to himself. But at the same point, it's like I know how I would feel if I were in his shoes, I would want somebody to be as helpful and do as much as they could to help me, because he can't do it all, because he can't be there for his mom 24/7. He can't be there for his dad 24/7. He's got to run his business too, because he does have his own business. He's trying to run that, so I'm sorry, I'm just going on, but I get it in some ways.
Yeah, this whole like repeating pattern thing, and feeling like you're on the hamster wheel. It's really difficult, and I think that it's talking about if we need the lessons in our life, they're going to be there, and we're going to keep on facing these things until we can either A, overcome them, or B, give ourselves enough self-love. I'm not sure which it is, but I for a long time now, of course we have our trucking company, and it's been having some success over the past few years, but I always have this kind of like fear in the back of my mind that this is a fleeting success, that it's not going to last, et cetera, et cetera. And then this year has been a really, really difficult year for our company. And I wonder, how much of this am I just manifesting because of my fear of it not being successful, and then it starts to have issues, and it's just like, it's so frustrating. And we got a driver, and then all of a sudden he's quitting, and when he's running, I was starting to get my life kind of in order outside of the company. So I'm working on a lot of the stuff that needs to get done with the company, but also kind of getting my personal things that I really want to work on started, and now he's quitting, so I have to get back in the truck, and that makes me frustrated and angry, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? I feel like I'm just like making it harder than it has to be in some way, and yet at the same time, there's other aspects of my life that seem like they're kind of falling into place like they're supposed to. And I'm like, how can I be, creating this future that I want? How is it that I can it can be seemingly going in the right direction, and then yet have these things that feel like they're going back 2 steps, like what Catherine was kind of saying. And it's like 1 step forward, 2 step back thing. And so I have all this anger coming up inside of me, and yet at the same time I keep trying to tell myself that that everything is going the way it's supposed to go. It must be, it has to be, and for whatever reason the setback is necessary in order to get to whatever the next level is, or the next step up the staircase. I don't know. And but it's so difficult when things come up, and you're just so frustrated with them, and you're trying to work through it, and yet at the same time kind of trying to trust in the universe and trust in your higher self. And it's yeah, whether all we have to do or not is say I am self-love, is, I have no idea if that's what it is. But I do know that when I was struggling the most in the past couple of days, is that when I just let go and allow, that is when I feel the most peace, and that when I'm arguing with it and fighting against it, that's when I have the most drama. And so if I can, I guess, just create more peace, then I suppose that's a positive direction. I don't know. So
Hey, I'll jump out.
Isn't it funny how,
Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I was waiting. Go ahead.
you're muted, Jason.
Oh, I did that backwards. Sorry. Yeah, I can appreciate what you're saying there, Samantha, and also you too, Dan and Catherine. And I was, as you're speaking, I was applying what was said in that first sentence to the situation, and I can relate to that being in that sort of a loop or a pattern, um, where it seems like uh, when things are going difficult, when things are difficult, we seem like we're busy getting things done and we're working through our issues, and we kind of can, even when our friends are needing our help, we're there for our friends, and sometimes it can seem like we're better at being there for others than we are there for ourselves. Um, but also, I was, applying that first line there that you read, Catherine, where it says, "What do you require to change?" And so I think that can help. I mean, for me, that sort of like struck a chord with me. What am I requiring? What do I expect? Like, if great things come to me, am I in the belief that they can just come, or do I have to do all these things to earn it? Do I have to be a certain way and perform certain actions to be deserving of it? I guess is where I'm coming from, and I'll just stop there because I think that's a good jump off point.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that it's like, if it's saying if you require suffering to change, change will require suffering. It's like, so we have to keep suffering until we change, or, well, I don't know. I guess if not everybody requires suffering to change. I don't know. But yet at the same time, like Catherine was saying with her health, I've been working on my health a lot too, and had been struggling pretty significantly over the past few years with migraines and my diet. And by diet, it's, for me, it's not so much about losing weight as it is eliminating all the stuff that's making me feel horrible. And because I know that there are certain things that if I eat those certain things, I will definitely get a migraine. And yet there are other things that I'm not sure what they are that will, that will cause me the same thing, or if it's just a continuous underlying thing within my diet that, I'll have those issues. But I have noticed, because when I got back from Florida, I really made a big, I don't know if it was just a something in my mind that says, okay, this is it. You're just, you're done with all of that crap that was causing you problems, and you're going to be committed from this point forward. But something has made me have just kind of a different attitude towards my diet than what I was having previously when I would try and change it. And so I'm hoping that this is a kind of, okay, I'm over the suffering kind of a thing. I don't need it anymore, and I can move forward. It's like I've suffered enough. And now, when I quit smoking years and years ago, or the first few times I quit, I thought I had quit. I thought I really had quit. And, I'd go for a year or so, and then all of a sudden I would be smoking again. And I went through that pattern a number of times before I finally quit, and never picked up a cigarette again, and have not ever had a desire to pick up the cigarette again. But it was the suffering thing. I had to get to a point of suffering enough to that I caused myself enough discomfort and suffering that it absolutely shifted me into, okay, I don't need to do this anymore in order to get the finalization in it. And I'm hoping I've reached that point within my diet, and I feel like I have, but only time will tell. Like in the Atomic Habits books, it's those little things that you do over time that create the exponential results. And the thing is it takes little things over a long period of time to make those big changes. And for me and my diet, I know that I can make changes for a short term. It's just keeping them for the long term is the thing that I struggle with more than anything. But I feel like I've reached that. So we'll touch base again next year and see, see if that's true or not. But I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so. But that's kind of what was the thought on my part, is just that whole idea of, the suffering part of it. And maybe it has to be the same way within our other aspects of our life too, is we just have to reach that tipping point, if you will, where we're just like, we've had it.
I was going to jump out and say, well, like in the, like the book kind of makes it seem, and Jason, and I think Catherine, and now you, Samantha, were alluding to the fact that it says that, we have to be willing to accept that it can be, I guess, that easy as that, one, we deserve it, that there's nothing wrong with accepting and expecting it to be the way we want it to be, and that somehow we all have come with the idea that we have to suffer, we have to go through these things. And sometimes, because I know for me on a couple of things, I just, but I never made the connection per se until a little bit more now, that sometimes when I've just said, I'm done, I'm over, I'm, just done, I'm not gonna, and that seemed to be the point where I didn't struggle and I didn't have those problems, and things did go a little bit easier. Not saying that because of other people's thoughts and judgments and things that they do, that it didn't make me have to maybe I don't want to say change where I was at, but make me kind of just either step to the right, step to the left, or whatever, to where I didn't let it affect me as much. Now, interesting enough, with my friend recently, he and I, kind of got back in touch for quite a few years. We had lost touch. And I'll be honest, my life was fine without him being around and being totally right there and involved in it. And he, like I said, he's not a bad person or anything. It's just, I've just realized the difference. And when he wasn't around, and I never ever thought of him as not a friend, we just didn't really interact because we lost numbers and contact, and we each went on with our lives at that point. But I've just also realized how much stress and how much draining energy there is there. But yet, and this is maybe the part that I'm fighting with, is because it's like, because of what he's gone through, and I know that he really doesn't have a lot of other friends. I know if I were in that same mode, I would want friends that, like, I've got great friends here. I can, reach out and talk to you guys. I got a couple other friends that I can do things with and express and share, and they can help me get a lot of what I want out, so I can process it and get it out into the universe and let it start moving out. I don't think he has that. And so I don't want to necessarily be the one that just looks at him and says, look, dude, I'm done. I'm, and have it be something that could be detrimental to him, because I don't want him to feel like there's nobody around that's there willing to be there and be a friend. But he almost seems to drive it that way because of how he acts and how he is. So, but I really do think that Samantha got it. Sometimes we have to just get to that point where we're just done, over it. I'm not going to keep beating myself up to feel this way anymore, because one, I don't deserve it, and it's not helping me. So that's the other little part I gleaned from what all three of you have been saying.
And I think that's a huge part of it, Dan, is we have to learn how to, just like Jason said, we have to learn to take care of ourselves as well as we take care of others, and to love ourselves as much as we love others. And that's difficult. And for me to, not only wind up in the ER in the situation I was in, but it was the same scenario where the doctors were not listening. They were refusing to cooperate. I mean, it was pure negligence and actual malpractice that happened. And it took me right back to that place that I've been so many times, which was the frustrating part, because I have had enough of all that. Samantha, like you said, at some point we just say, I've had enough. Well, I've had enough of that about 10 times over, but now 3 weeks later, I'm faced with a situation where even though my plate is overflowing beyond full, trying to help people, a dear friend I found out, who I was able to get cancer free years and years and years ago, because of some of the mainstream treatment that she took in between then and now. She now has cancer again, and they've given her less than a month to live. And so even though my plate is beyond full, I contacted her immediately upon learning about this and said, get here, you have to get to me because I can't get to her right now. You have to get to me. And well, first I asked her, are you ready to go? Because that's everybody's choice. And I would definitely respect that if she were, but she's not. She still wants to fight, but they've given up on her. And so I have to look at this situation now and say, okay, was I put in that situation in the ER feeling totally abandoned and unlistened to again, so that it would give me the strength to help her out in this situation where obviously she's feeling abandoned, if they've just given her less than a month to live. So I don't think we always know the reasons why we go through some things. Like, to me now that makes sense to say, okay, well, I had to feel that sense of abandonment again, like fresh, in order to give me the courage and the strength that I need to be there for her in this situation. Whereas if I hadn't have just gone through that myself, maybe I wouldn't have reacted, the same way. So we just never know why things happen. But I do want to bring up, I think it's amazing that all of us, and this is kind of what reinforces my belief that we really are all one. All of us are facing the same challenges in completely different scenarios. So isn't that interesting, that we're all facing the exact same hurdles, but in completely different ways.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. When you told me you were having setbacks and I'm having setbacks and Dan's having, it's just like, what the heck, is that what everybody's experiencing right now? Some kind of, 2-step backs compared to what they were feeling, I don't know, a few months ago. I don't even know. It's the craziest thing. But I guess as a consciousness as a whole, is that's what we need. We need these roller coasters of insanity to move us forward in consciousness. I don't know, but I hope that for us as a group, that us recognizing that this is what's happening, and that somehow or another we are the orchestrators of it, and that we can make changes in ourselves in some way that we can, overcome or allow more self-love, or allow ourselves to create from a different perspective, or something. I don't know. Just the fact that we're recognizing it and maybe not fighting it as hard as what we may have if we were on our own experiencing these things, and if we were not studying any kind of books at all or any kind of self-help, anything, that we would just be suffering and not growing from the suffering, not just staying stuck on our hamster wheel versus, I'm on a hamster wheel now and I've recognized it. Let me get on this other hamster wheel. Let me jump from this little one to the slightly bigger one. I don't know.
Right. I sort of feel like, like the universe, if is going to let us know if we're not moving forward, it's going to give us a little reminder that, what we need or to do to keep moving forward, or it's going to maybe put us in a position like maybe with like Catherine's example, where she's had to visit that situation, so that maybe she have the compassion she'll need in that situation. I also feel like again, thoughts and words mean things, at least to our subconscious, and so being careful of what we're telling ourselves. We're telling ourselves it's so difficult and it's so hard, and when we're describing things as like pain brings gifts and things like that, those are obviously things that you end up telling yourselves when you're in the moment of having to go through that stuff. But I also feel like those are like mantras and tools that help us get through those difficult times. But we tend to sort of carry those tools with us into good times as well. And I think that if we're not willing to let go of those thought patterns, that they can sort of either bring us back to that situation or bring us to a situation where we're reminded of why we believe that, or just stall us long enough to where we're now experiencing a dark place, a dark time. And so I think like keeping moving, keeping our momentum, realizing what we're doing, what we're requiring, like the book is saying, for us to be able to move forward, for us to be able to be, happy and in a good space. And I know from my experience with injuries and whatnot, that it can seem like, when you start feeling better and you start feeling good, you can forget that you felt bad and you start overextending yourself a little bit more. And next thing you know, you've re-injured that injury or something along those lines. And so having that mindfulness that, hey, we're here because of where we came from, but it doesn't mean we have to take those things into the future with us. Just let's, be, mindful of where we are and what it took for us to get there. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take the same thing in order to move forward. I really like, and I'm going to take to heart that, it doesn't, we don't have, what it was saying earlier about our requirements, and that it doesn't require anything for us to be and do and have what we want. We just need to accept it, that it's going to be there for us, and have that, and working towards that self-love. And I guess I'm seeing self-love as worthiness, feeling worth, feeling like we deserve that, focusing on that, and knowing that, hey, that physical is different from our mental. Sometimes we can't affect the physical the way we'd like to, but we do have a lot of control over the mental part of it. And to the extent that one, it affects the other, we do have some control. And so there's really great possibilities for all of us. And maybe it's just a matter of giving us that freedom to be and to do the things we want to do, and not holding ourselves back. So I think I'll jump off there, but thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you.
I was going to jump out and say, do Angel and Karen, do either of you have any thoughts or anything, that you want to throw out or share or feeling? Because several of us have been kind of, throwing out stuff out there a lot. So just want to make sure you guys have a chance too.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I've been going through, some of the similar challenges that we're all kind of going through right now, It's just kind of got to get to the point in suffering where I can say, I've had enough, I'm done, and I feel like I'm starting to reach that point, but I don't like having to get to that point either, though, because it creates so many waves sometimes, and it's like I don't want to have to create waves. Waves aren't that fun sometimes, and then I don't know, and then there's other parts of it where it just seems like things are falling into place just as they should be falling into place, and I'm like, I want to be happy about this, but I'm also frustrated about this too. And it's like it's falling into place, but it's not how I want it to fall into place, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. But I guess I don't have complete thoughts together in order to share right now. So. But yeah, it makes me feel at least a little bit better that I'm not alone in this whole process. So yeah, I guess that's all I got. Don't really have much to share this weekend.
I've been thinking about, I guess since the beginning, the question, are you willing to give up drama in your life? And thinking about a woman who's fairly new to the facility where I'm at, and she is really beautiful. Her face is that creamy, complexion that sometimes you read about or people are described with, and she just really is attractive to look at. But the other night, there were three of us talking kind of late in the dining room, and she went up a couple of tables and everyone else was gone. And she sat there and she started to cry out, and she became louder and louder. It was almost like she was having a baby or rehearsing for a scene in which she might be having a baby, where you have all that screaming and crying and so forth. And I thought about how, as people came to see if they could help her and, the whole scene played out, I was thinking how much drama she had involved herself with that. And then as everyone was talking about the hamster wheel and loving yourself and attempting to understand a little bit better how we create the scenarios that we're in, and in particular when they're not our favorite. I remembered that I was taught probably when I was about 20, 21 years old by a doctor. I'm sure those of you who've experienced panic attacks, which is probably all of us, they seem like a heart attack. And, of course, I went in to say, to try and convince this doctor who I didn't think cared diddly squat about people, that I was having a heart attack and he needed to do something about it. And he said, no, it's a panic attack. And this is what you do about it. And he described exaggeration. And as I was thinking about the conversation this morning, I was thinking sometimes, well, it's always been helpful to me. I've used that all these years, which is now, 50 years. I was thinking that sometimes, we say to ourselves, it could be worse. What I'm experiencing could be worse. And I think it's helpful to think about maybe for a few minutes how it could be worse, and how it's nice to have the experience that you're having at the time. Yesterday morning, we heard over the loudspeaker that the dining hall was going to be closed to who knows when. And ever since I've been here, after I went through the quarantine that I had to do, as everybody comes in, they have to do a quarantine. I've been able to go down to the dining hall and meet different people and talk with different people and enjoy my meals in that way. And so here I'm hearing over the loudspeaker that the meals are going to be brought to our individual rooms, and we need to wear a mask at all times, which, I'm sure they don't mean that we have to wear a mask when we're alone in our rooms, but I'm trying to remember every time somebody comes to my door to put a mask on. And, the things that I've been doing to keep from feeling isolated, I really can't do anymore. I can't go to my chat group because only 6 can be there, and we've, gone over a dozen people who are interested in joining every morning. So, these things I'm sure seem really small to you. And, they're really not that big a deal to me because I fall asleep so easily. You've seen me in my chair many times at the end. But I think about the other people around, the people who've never learned to socialize. And I can tell you that there's a lot of those people here. And, I just think isolation kills. And, I almost wish that I could somehow get permission to go room to room and say, do you understand self-love, and do you understand talking to yourself about self-love? And just the many things that we've talked about in this book. This book is so full of so much really new information for us, at least in the way that it's presented to us. I think all of us have pretty much read the same, we've certainly read the same books that we've been involved with. If you've been involved with us for any length of time, but there's also a lot of books that we read just because of the interests that we have. And yet, every book that we pick up and discuss gives us new perspective, and it's so valuable. I'm going to be quiet now. Thank you.
So Karen and Angel, I'm so glad you both spoke. Although I do have to say, Dan, I'm just going to say this. Personally, I hate being called out like that, because if I have something to say, I'll step in and say it. And if I don't, I don't. And I don't want to be called out. But Karen, I'm so glad you spoke, because you brought, first of all, let's go back to, who was it, Dan or Jason? I can't remember which one of y'all said, our words are so important. And of course, if you've been with us for a while, you know that we covered the book, What to Say When You Speak to Yourself, or What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, something like that. And it's an excellent book. And if you haven't read that book, go find our recordings on that, or read the book, or do both. But I constantly, I would have to, stay conscious all day and count how many times I say it to myself, but I know it's multiple times a day. I say, well, things could be worse. I comfort my quote self by saying, well, things could be worse. Or look at those people and how bad they have it. Or look at, I look out to quote, minimize my suffering. But when you consider what this book is reminding us of, what happens when a God says things could be worse? Like, maybe we need to stop saying that, because maybe we're making things worse. You know what I'm saying? So words are super, super. No, I know you weren't, Dan, and I don't want you to feel bad about that. I just had to say it. I just had to point it out. Like, we really have to be careful about the words that we use, especially when we use them repeatedly, like multiple times a day, because we literally could be making things worse without meaning to. And I think that's the whole gist of this book, is trying to make us more aware of, just like you were saying, Samantha, is your trucking business going bad because even though it was going good, you always have it in the back of your mind, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and suddenly the shoe drops, and what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it going to happen anyway? And you're just, because I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like, I pre-grieve over things. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean by that, but like, I will, if I have any inkling that something's not going to work, like or that I'm going to lose somebody or something, I like pre-grieve it and get all the grief out of the way first. And then when it happens, it doesn't really affect me all that much. But I mean, how do we figure out what we're putting out there that's manifesting things? That's why I think it's so important. But you also can't get so like over caught up in every thought that you have, because as we know, and as this book points out, not all of our thoughts are our own either. So it's latching onto those thoughts that can cause the issue. But sometimes it seems like you have a thought one time and then it just shows up in your life, like bam. You might have been focusing on some other thought a million times trying to get that manifested, and that never shows up. But then you have like this one thought one time and suddenly there it is.
Yeah, when you were talking about the, being careful what you say, and that, we kind of do things to ourselves, as not too long ago, I realized that one thing I was saying to myself when I would see really sad shit out in the world is I'd be like, it hurts my heart. It just hurts my heart that this is happening in the world. And we think we're saying something that is a sympathetic type of a thing, but I noticed that I didn't really notice it right away. I didn't realize the correlation until later, but I started having heart palpitations. And I was, noticing that I'm having these, and then I would kind of get triggered by some emotional thing that I saw out the world, and I'd be like, hurts my heart. And then I started feeling it almost instantly afterwards. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm like giving myself a heart issue. I gotta stop doing that, so I stopped saying that. And I started instead recognizing positive things and going, it warms my heart. And now I'm not having those heart palpitations like I was. And when I would, because it was another thing that, I would have like a stress event, and that would trigger it. And I'm like, oh, geez, and, years ago, or not years ago, but, a few years back, I recognized I was doing a similar thing to myself, where I would get upset about something and it would be in my stomach, and my stomach would hurt. And I recognized that I was causing myself stomach issues because of the things that I was saying to myself. And we don't realize how big of an effect that we have on ourselves. And I think it's a great thing to recognize those things, because I have noticed over the years that, I'll say, what a pain in the ass, it's like, I say those, and may not have like an instantaneous pain in my ass happen, but I've noticed that, when I have stress things in my life and they're really emotional, they'll manifest in physical ways. And so I've just started over the last few years, just be really careful about what I'm saying. And because I realize I manifest it in my physical body. So, and it's not always the things that I speak out loud. It can be the thoughts that I'm having in my head too. So when I tell myself I'm stressed out about something, I always experience a physical discomfort in some way. And the more stressed I am about something, the more that I cause myself to have more, physical manifestations. So anyway, yeah, exactly. Right. So we're at the top of the hour, guys. We want to go ahead and share some final thoughts before we wrap up for today.
Well, I'll make this my final thought. It was interesting as you were talking about that, how when you would see the accident, you would say, "Oh, it hurts my heart" and everything, and it's weird. I went back to that water study that one person did with the words, how it affected the water and how it crystallized and how the bad words, and I never fully put that. I put that out there and understood what it was saying, and how my words out to people can really have an effect and have either a loving or harmful effect or a hurting effect. But I never really internalized it, but when you were just saying this, and I made it, and that just came into my head, and I'm like, wow, interesting how even though we're putting something out that we think is good, and even, and we are doing it with what we feel is the right heart or something, how in actuality, some of it might come back and really be hurting us or putting us, causing us some of this pain or issues or things that, we're feeling. And we don't really, now I'll think about some of those things as I'm, I won't catch myself all, very often, but it's now in my head a little bit more, how is what I'm saying or putting out, how am I going to react to it? If I'm putting it out, is it going to react and give me an adverse effect too, even though I'm putting something out, but it's not adversely affecting me, and I don't really realize it. So that was a nice epiphany there for me.
Kind of along those same lines, Dan. Being the stay-at-home mom I am, I always get frustrated when my kids don't listen to me when I tell them to do it the first time, and I'm like, nobody's listening to me, and I'll say it out loud, and I know, and I'll catch myself saying it multiple times a day because I'm like, I just want you to listen. I just want somebody to listen to me. Nobody is listening, and I'll get mad, and I'll repeat it to myself, and I'll repeat it to the kids, and it's like nobody's listening. And then when my boyfriend gets home and, he's not being as, say, attentive or listening to me like I want him to. And I'm like, nobody listens to me. So maybe I need to stop saying that. That might help a little bit. So maybe I'm creating that whole thought process for myself as too, or that whole process of myself, and I just feel like I'm not being heard because I keep putting out to the universe that nobody listens. So if I keep saying it, then why is anybody going to listen to me if I keep saying nobody listens? So a little epiphany for me there too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That yeah, you might try that. We might all take a moment to dig down and recognize what we're telling ourselves, or what we're telling the universe. I have a couple of points, and I think I can make it quick here. First of all, like what I was saying earlier about us being able to help others, being better at helping others than we're helping ourselves, or finding the time for others when we're not finding the time for ourselves, or somehow feeling easier. We feel like we sort of get something out of it, but we have to realize that I think that also, and it may not be the case for everyone, but a lot of people that are in our lives, a lot of times those people are running a racket on themselves as well as us. There's people that seem like they're always needy, and I've had this happen to myself, and we may think we're the only person that they have in their life, but a lot of times it's just that we're the only one that is giving them the time of day to allow them to run that racket on themselves and on us. And it's because we like to help people, and then they end up being, I had a friend who, it felt like he would call me in the middle of the night, 2, 3 a.m. And it's like, and I felt like so bad if I missed the call and then it wasn't there for him. Doesn't have anybody else to listen to him. Later on, I found out that he was doing that to many people, but I didn't realize that he had all those other friends, and they were just fed up with it, and I was still there trying to be there for him, and it was taking a toll on me. So just realize sometimes that may be the case anyway. And I'll move on real quick. In regards to bringing things that we've learned in the past that helped us get through difficult times into the future, and then maybe those tools aren't the correct things that will help us keep the momentum and good times. We need to be prepared to switch gears when our environments change, when our situation changes. We need to recognize that, hey, okay. And I'm thinking maybe with Karen, with your situation, now you have to experience the solitude. Well, maybe it's time to kind of switch gears and use that as well as you can for the moment. It's an excuse to be away from everyone for a little bit. You will be able to come back, and the dining hall will open up eventually. For now, you can say, you can have that time for yourself. So being able to switch gears when a situation changes and when we can recognize and try to utilize the situation. We may not want to be in that situation. We may be like, oh no, but I really want to. So we can recognize, hey, I need to appreciate that. And now this is happening now here. So how can I use and be the best I can be now in what's going on? Another thing was, hey, don't psych ourselves out when when things are going our way, or we're starting to perceive things are going to change. Don't psych ourselves out. Just keep, and overthink things. I'm so guilty of overthinking things and trying to predict the future. Just put our best effort forward, and don't get in our head and overthink things. The other thing was, going back to what Catherine was mentioning in regards to what we say to ourselves, things, a good way to change our thoughts about how difficult things may be is to just to change that wording and instead say things shouldn't be so difficult. Things won't be so difficult, and just change that wording. And then lastly, I really feel that the universe wants us all to prosper. And he wants us to prosper, but it's we kind of put it out there though for it to give us what we're looking for. So if we're mindful and we're putting out that good vibe and we're considering all these things, I think the world and the universe will open it all up for us to be anything we want to be. Listen, I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for all of your insights. This book is really reminding me of a lot of great things that I need to be reminded of, because I do tend to move on and then forget the things I've learned. So I have to reacquaint myself with them. So thank you so much for the opportunity for that. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Real quick, I just want to remind everybody along this same note of how you look at things and the taking what we say literally, very literally. There's a newsletter thing that you can sign up for. I'm not sure exactly, but if you Google Notes from the Universe, it'll come up. It's from TUT, I think, or something. Anyway, it's a really cool, every time, I don't open them every day, I should, but every time that I open one, it always lightens whatever my situation is. It always makes me feel better. I've never opened one of these emails and felt worse after reading it. It always puts things in perspective, and it's just the most random things, but it also has cookies or remembers things about you, because every once in a while it will bring up evidently at some point I put in a dream somewhere, or it picked up on something in what I was saying, and it brings up that I'll be looking out over my horses at the mountains and things that I know that it's picked up from things that I've said before. But it's just a really cool little daily sort of boost. And Samantha, I'm right there with you on the PIA, because my uncle used to babysit for me when I was little, and he told me I was a PIA probably, I don't know, 25 times a day. That's just all he ever said to me. And then I picked up that wording, and I said that about everything in my life over and over. And one day I realized, oh my gosh, I'm suffering from literally physical PIA. So I need to quit saying that. So I try to take that completely out of my vocabulary. But sometimes we just pick up things like that and don't realize the power of our words. Love you guys. Hope you have a great week.
I just wanted to say, similar to that, Catherine, my mom got me this box of affirmators, and they're just silly little quotes that just kind of like, it says 50 affirmation cards to help you help yourself without the self-helpiness. And they're just like little silly cards, and they all got these like little silly little pictures on them, you know, and this one's like ups and downs, and just as like a little thing, I'll read this one. It says, I see life as an incredible ride, and I'm lucky to be on it. Yes, the ups and downs make me want to puke sometimes, but they're also what makes things fun and interesting. And when you look back, even puking on yourself makes for a good story. And there's just all kinds of little affirmations in here, and there's some of them are silly, you know, others are just like regular little quotes and whatnot to kind of help you get you through your day and whatnot. So, you know, there's, you know, some little cute little pictures, no judgment, things like that, and they're just like little sillies. You know, there's one like forgiveness. I don't know, they're just the cute little affirmations that are kind of similar to that. Like, I don't always read them, but they help. When I'm having a real bad day and I look over, I'm like, oh, my affirmations. So I'll shuffle them about and pull one out, and it always makes me smile at least. So, but yeah, they're just like cute little affirmations. You know, my mom got them for me a while back. I always keep them right here, so I try to remember to look at them. You know, if anything, I can always just look at the front of it, and it's a bunny rabbit, right? A unicorn in front of a rainbow. So I know it's not the same, but similar, something.
Well, with that being said, we are definitely past the hour, but sometimes we like to go past just to give everybody a chance to say and get what we feel we need to say. It's been great. Glad, you know, all you guys are here. Love you all. And we'll probably, hopefully, end up finishing the book, Love, Life, God, The Journey of Creation by Jared Hewitt, hopefully next week as we get together next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. You can find us on Facebook at Mindset Mastery Collective. We have a page there, and we have all the ways of how you can connect with us, or you can reach out to any of us here, send us a message or whatever. And then if you want to join our group, we can get you plugged in. If you'd like to be another one of the panels, just get a hold of us and we'll, you know, get you in for that. We would love to have other people come in and share their thoughts and feelings about this. And as always, we're here 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. my time. So with that, if you like our stuff, you can find us on YouTube at Mindset Mastery Collective, and give us a thumbs up and a like and share. And we look forward to having you with us next week as we continue on our journey. And we send out love to everybody, because right now I think the world needs a lot of that and a lot of healing. So with that, bye from Saturday Morning Mastermind.